In the last 2 days, I've received Cyrano, I've received The Tragedy of Macbeth, and now I've received West Side Story, and also Nightmare Alley. So I don't know how I'm going to watch all that stuff. I really don't. Because you know why? I don't have time to watch it because I'm too busy watching movies like National Champions, which comes out on Friday. It's directed by Rick Waugh. I blame Eric Holmes for making us see National Champions because he's a fan of Rick Waugh. Well, actually, so am I. And Bruce, are you a fan of Rick Waugh?
Yeah. I have no idea who Rick Waugh is. Who is Rick Waugh?
What?
He did Greenland.
Greenland, man.
Oh, that's right. We did talk about that.
Yeah. Angel has fallen. What Angel has fallen? What's that? The Angel has fallen thing? Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah, I like those. I forgot that he was the guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the man. Rick Roman. Okay, so this movie is called National Champions.
We're still 24 hours away from the national title game.
Wolves quarterback LaMarcus James should be the best quarterback to come into the NFL since Patrick Mahomes.
And you know who agrees with me on that? Miami. They're poised to take him #1 overall for about $35 million guaranteed. But we are not talking enough about Wolves coach James Lazor.
One of the best coaches we've seen, but he has never won the big game.
We're live.
I am joined by LaMarcus James, who won this year's Heisman Trophy.
A revolutionary banging on my adversary.
This is the home of my best friend and teammate, Emmett Sunday. Tomorrow he'll play in a game that'll gross over $500 million. But Emmett won't see a dime. And just like the other 12,000 draft-eligible players that don't make the NFL every year, his football days will be over. Zero compensation, zero medical insurance for all the injuries he sustained. My coach, James Lazor, receives an annual salary of $5 million. The commissioners of the top 5 power conferences receive an average salary of $4 million each year. The president of the NCAA received a salary of $3.9 million last year. So I'm personally asking all players in Monday's national title game to join me in this boycott to demand that the NCAA will recognize players as paid employees and not student athletes.
Jesus. Coach, I think it's best if the NCAA took the reins here.
LaMarcus is a good person.
We squander a $600 million payday for tomorrow alone.
Everybody around us got private jets and private chefs. You got insurance? What you gonna fix your broken body with, huh?
He makes a compelling argument, and I know I stand behind him.
The reality is he's got so much to lose.
Do not let LaMarcus rob you of your legacy.
My football team will play for me.
You two cannot unionize college sports, and that's a fact.
4 players just tweeted we're in with the hashtag fix the system.
It ain't just 2 of us no more. And that's a fact.
Who really run this? Like, who really run that man that say he won?
We gotta stick together on this, fellas. If he sits, they're gonna Kaepernick him like you.
LaMarcus leaked my Nike contract.
These boycotts have gained a lot of momentum. What happens to all of the other sports that are not men's football and basketball when they start paying you?
Everybody doing it. Everybody doing it.
LaMarcus, you're standing toe-to-toe with the behemoth, and we haven't even begun to fight.
Glory is at hand. God is with us. He says there is nothing to lose. Glory is yours. I am here, and there is nothing to fear. Glory is ours. It starts right now. It starts right here. Take it.
It's 3 days before the college football national championship game. It is set in New Orleans. The top quarterback on one team, his name is LaMarcus James. He's played by Stephan James from Beale Street. What's a Beale Street movie? What is it called? If these walls could talk.
If Beale Street could talk.
If Beale Street could talk. Very good. Thank you, Eric Holmes. And also, he was also in Homecoming. So Stephan James plays the quarterback. LaMarcus James, his best friend, is teammate Emmett Sunday, played by Alexander Ludwig. They stage a boycott. They don't want to play in the national championship game because they believe, not even though they're the top of the ladder athletes, and basically LaMarcus James is promised to be the #1 pick in the NFL draft, he's thinking about his fellow teammates. And not just his fellow teammates, all the other student athletes who are not getting paid, and he believes should get paid under the NC2A rules. Especially within the confines of NC2A football, it's a multi-billion-dollar business. How come some of that money isn't trickling down to probably the most deserving, which is the student athletes. Why aren't they getting paid? And LaMarcus James and his buddy Emmett, they decide to actually stage that boycott and get some of their teammates involved in trying to not play the national championship game. That is National Champions, directed by Rick Roman Waugh. The coach is played by Whiplash actor J.K. Simmons. We just recently talked about J.K. Simmons from being the Ricardos. And also Kristen Chenoweth plays the coach's wife. And our buddy Justified actor Timothy Oliphant, he plays a philosophy teacher who also gets into the mix of things. Lil Rel Howery from Get Out, he also stars as the assistant coach. And our buddy from Old Henry, Tim Blake Nelson, plays one of the boosters, one of the multi-million-dollar earning boosters in National Champions. Bruce Purkey, I don't know if you're an NC2A football fan, sports fan, football fan. Did this movie work for you?
Yes, actually it did work for me. I was surprised that it worked for me. This is the best Aaron Sorkin movie we watched this week, because if you were to tell me...
Love it, Bruce. Very good. Excellent. Thank you.
If you were to tell me this was an Aaron Sorkin project, I would not be surprised, because it has all the hallmarks. Maybe not in some of the dialogue, the style of the dialogue, but this is not a super visual movie. This is not a really cinematic movie. This is a movie about ideas. It's about boardroom back dealings. It's about, press conferences. It's about all of this kind of intrigue that almost is some ways trial-like as well, where people are debating ideas. So some people will just definitely not be on board because it's that kind of movie. But I thought the energy here was really good, and the ideas were extremely pertinent. I'm sure it's no surprise that they're putting this out the week of the college football championship, rankings coming to play, and just the way that all of the money and all of the dealings and all of the kind of, they get into the racial aspect of it, which is obvious, but well pointed out in this movie. I also wanted to point out, I don't know if you mentioned her. I think her name is Uzo Aduba. Yeah. She's kind of the hit woman that kind of goes behind the scenes to do all this stuff. She's excellent in this movie. I thought she was really good. And I do also...
She's like the fixer, right?
Yeah. Yeah, she's really great. There's a ton of conversations and monologues. J.K. Simmons, has several great moments in this movie. I think if you're down for this type of movie, it's solid. If you're not, then it just might not be for you, style-wise. You know what I mean? But I think there's a lot of interesting stuff there, and I think it's surprisingly one of the more, I think, insightful probably, movies about the racial condition and money and what's going on in America today in a setting you don't necessarily think about. And I think that was really interesting. You know
what's really interesting about National Champions, and we're going to get to you, Eric, about this. It could have been a lot more flashy. Rick Roman Waugh, we talked about Greenland, right? He could have made it the big title game, make it really flashy and a lot of really just showman. He could have brought some of his just technical know-how and showmanship to the proceedings, but he didn't. He could have done so many things with National Champions, but he just kept it as is, just as a drama. It has a theme to it. It brings up an issue, and they tackle it from so many different sides. So I really appreciated that about National Champions. Eric Holmes, you wanted us to actually review this. This was your movie to review. Was this a movie that you were disappointed by, or did you end up really loving?
Well, so Roman Waugh took a stupid idea with Greenland and elevated it. Like that was just, Greenland should not have been as good as it was. And I think a lot of it, we might have pulled something out there that wasn't there. And I was worried that might be the case. And then I saw this, and he took a great idea and just knocked it out of the park. The idea of basically kids going through college football, and this is like, turned into like $1 billion industry, and the kids aren't allowed to make any money. And they're also constantly in danger of injuring themselves to where they can't play anymore for the rest of their lives. The thing they went to college for to do, and they don't even have anything as simple as healthcare. I've never heard a great argument against this. I've heard that we don't pay college players. Why not? Well, they got a scholarship. Okay, well, that's cool, but what are you doing with the other billions of dollars?
Right.
And I've never heard a good argument against that. until I watched this movie, which is another great thing this movie does. It takes both sides, and you get to see, it doesn't strawman anything. It gives you real points of view. Now, I still don't agree with that other side. But another thing I really appreciate about this movie is that it's fictional, but I think it gives people a blueprint on how to pull this off. We talked about they come out with documentaries, and it's like, I wish this would change the world, but it probably won't. This movie probably could change the world, like at least college football, because all you need is a one-star athlete to watch this. This movie gets big within his group of friends who are watching this. Like, you know what? Fuck it. This is the year. And just like that, all of a sudden, college football players, or just college sports players in general, at the very least would go to the negotiating table. We want healthcare, we want life insurance, we want whatever it is you want. I mean, they're not all going to make millions of dollars. There can start to be negotiations, which is far, I don't follow this too much outside of the movie. I just kind of sort of know. This is also a movie that honestly we shouldn't be reviewing. This is a movie they should be reviewing on ESPN because they know far more about this sort of stuff than we do. I give this a high recommend. I don't even give this 5 stars. I give this a perfect 6 out of 9 stars.
Yeah, let's give a perfect 6 out of 9 stars.
And I hope this movie blows up. I really do, because I think if the right people see this, this is the movie that could actually make positive change. At the very least not just get the conversation started, because people have been talking about this forever, but get a real conversation started, get negotiations starting, and start planning things. Yeah, this movie just knocked the idea out of the park, and I'm glad it exists, and hopefully a lot of people see this.
So 5 stars for Eric Holmes.
6.
Bruce, what do you give
Perfect
it? 6.9. How about you, Bruce? What'd you give it?
I'll probably give it 4 stars. I mean, it isn't as cinematic, and it doesn't have some of those things that I just want for rewatchability in a movie, but that's the only thing holding it back. Well, that, and there's a subplot about an affair that I did not need in this movie at all. Well, but other than, I know why it was there. I understand, but I didn't really need it. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of extra. But other than that, I really liked it, and I agree with everything that Eric says as far as its impact that it could have. Did you feel like this too, Eric? And then I'll shut up. Didn't you feel like some of the actual professional athletes that appeared in this, almost like, oh boy, you're gonna get in trouble for doing that, you shouldn't do that.
Well, actually, because when I flagged this on Cinematics, which we were on last week, so go check that out on the Cinematics feed. But anyway, one of the reasons before I flagged this, I saw the trailer, so I saw the real athletes on there, the ones I recognize anyway, and so I actually had to look up to see if this happened or not. I thought this was based on a thing that actually happened, which also just goes to show how detailed and how much care they put into putting this movie together. And then to find out that it was all fictional, just made me even that much more impressed by it.
Yeah, so that's five for Eric, and then 4 stars for me, and 4 stars for you, Bruce.